Secretary Emmanuel Piñol, Secretary Dato Abdul Kair Alonto, Mr. Ferdinand Marañon, Mr. Domingo Ang, pabalik-balik na ito sila ilang taon na, Mr. Stephen Antig, Mr. Enrio Dalinon, Mr. Rose Vic Simbrano, Ms. Eusebia de los Santos, delegates of the Congress 2016, puro saging ang pag-usapan dito. Fellow workers, government, my beloved countrymen. Before I am given talking points, but before that, I'd like to draw to you a picture of the world global business. It's a highly competitive world today, and everybody is into the business of money. And that is why there's a lot of competition going on. And maybe, just maybe, the Philippines would make it big in the agricultural area. Within the span of the next 30 years, 3 decades, I don't see any rising of a new sector, probably industrial also. It's too tight, and the resources are committed already, and besides, we lag behind in the money business. But what would make the industry valuable, ang agriculture, is actually Mindanao, and only in Mindanao. We can expect mining industries to sprout everywhere, and in the process destroy the land also, and other export processing zones that Tugadi and the rest in the cabinet plan to do their own. Kanya-kanya silang plano, and if put into an implementation, I'd see on the third year a lot of smoke billowing also in the Philippines. And again, we are bothered by the thought that ratio and proportion, we are supposed to not grow beyond yung atin ngayon. Ang kwintada kasi nitong mga gago is yung ratio and proportion vis-a-vis with the rise also. Hindi yung pwede na humabol tayo at a rate on our own because we have to do some computations. Pag umakyat sila at umakyat tayo, then again, ang ating akyat is just the ratio and proportion of the existing gas emissions. That's one of the draft. I do not think it is still in the... Did they have deposited their, as of yesterday, yung mga sa climate change? I don't know if this is the question still carried. But what I am trying to say is that ito kasi sila, at the expense of the third world, now still, they went into other lands conquest, lived off the fat of the land, itong mga imperialista, and they were able to maintain the rise unbridled, unimpeded, but just about yung gera. Otherwise, they were enjoying the fat of the land of other people's country. Agricultural was very low, and yet, if ever there's a new business, it is only the foreigners who were the first one to get and benefit from the kind of arrangement that we are in. Wala akong ano dyan. Maybe it's the fate of the Filipinos. But what I don't like is, yung sila kasi umabot na. Umabot na sila at the apex of their industrial supremacy. They cannot go higher than that what they have now. And yet, we in the third world countries are trying to catch up. And we are stymied not only by the cartels, but also by the refusal of these industrial countries to understand. Gusto natin umabot. We want to reach what they have achieved. But then again, there are so many things, because they said that's the emission, the carbon footprints, you cannot go beyond this. And yet, if you go around the Philippines, you have to go by the hundreds of kilometers before you see any factory. And if we decide, if our planners like Piñol and everybody there in the cabinet, who are all bright, pero ito mga cum laude, ba ito si Piñol, baka he's in the bundocks from the farmland. This is summa graduate, summa cum laude yan. So is Tugade, so is Yasay. Ako lang ang bugok dyan, sa totoo lang. Totoo. You might know, Tugade was my classmate. Dominguez was my childhood friend. Puro valedictorian yan lahat since the beginning of time. I was the only one lagging behind because I enjoyed my elementary and high school days. While they were studying very hard, I was enjoying my life, taking most of the time. Mas maganda ang kabataan mo kaysa dito sa presidency, Sus Maria Josep. If you only know, kung pabalikin ako. Ay, sus mo. I am the chief clerk of the government. Every time, every night, there's a folder, Department of Agriculture, Department of Foreign Affairs, Labor, and I have to read it. Baka ma-aruyo ka, place the marginal notes, okay, approve. But you have to read it. My earliest go-home time in Malacañang is on the average 2 o'clock, 2, 3, 4. Then I wake up because my day starts at 1. So I attend to all of the business of the government. And again, I go home. I do not eat dinner, so I just finger food na sandwiches ang kinakain ko. Then again, that's the routine. And sometimes it's a killing. I go there, it's lonely, I'm alone. Hindi ko naman mayakap yung mga gwardya, kay lalaki man. Walang babae, kung minsan. Yung mga aide ko, kasi umuwi naman yan sila paghatid sa akin, just to make sure that I go home alive. After that, kung bangungot ako, wala silang pakialam. And I do not have the privacy because you're not supposed to lock your door. You are not allowed to do that. Although they have not really tried opening it up without knocking. And I have yet to experience one na ginising ako na, but you cannot lock the door. I don't know why. Basta makatulog ka, anong gawin mo niyan, you just leave it unlocked and okay na ang lahat. Well, I suppose na baka may magnanakaw, huli nila kaagad, but that's the rationale of the life of a president. Beyond that, it's nothing. Really nothing. So, balik tayo dito sa banana. Well, the greatest promise of the banana growers in the Philippines, for that matter, is really the law and order. Until and unless we can put together a country that's bereft of any revolutionary tax, extortion, and everything, so isusunog yung farm implements, it's because of the taxation. If it is not the taxation of the communists, it's the extortion of the roving bandits in Mindanao. So, at first, even before I took my oath of office, I tried to reach out to the communists. And right at the start of my administration, we also started the talks. And I'm very happy. Now we are freed of the countryside vis-a-vis itong Communist Party of the Philippines, NDF and PA. But the others, the Moro, both National Liberation Front and the Moro Islamic, I was able to talk to everybody, and Miswari is getting out of Hulo next week and we'll begin the talks. The MI, we are now talking, I don't know to si Secretary Alonto, membro man ito ng, the first one who went to the Middle East to train and fight the Philippines. Sila yan eh. Sema, Miswari, si itong sa Basilan, si ano? Salapudin, sila yan. So, I am glad that the politicians in the Islamic Liberation Front pwede na mag-usap. Murad is a moderate, Jafar is a moderate. The Central Committee, I suppose, are moderates. Ito naman sa kanila, there is the MN, sila kahir, pati yung sa Hulo. But I said, I don't know how they're going to fix the dynamics within the MNLF, but they are also willing to talk again. Now, the only problem is, there is a certain sector in the Mindanao area that refuses to talk about peace. And ito yung mga Moro na inabutan ng atrocities of the imperialists. You know, in 1521, I'd like to repeat it again and again and again so that you'll understand. 1521, Magellan landed in Leyte. And the idiot claimed that he discovered the Philippines. Our history books, look at our history books noon sa amin. Who discovered the Philippines? The answer was Magellan. Anak na. Kung ako ang presidente noon, sampalin kita pag ginawa mo. You burn that book or I'll... We were doing all right. Even before the Spaniards came, we were a people, although in sparsely populated areas, but we were here already. And so I cannot imagine why would it take a Spaniard to discover us or an Italian whose trip to the Philippines was sponsored by the Spanish imperialism. Bakit ganon? So but when he was here, when he landed, he unloaded the cannons, the gunpowder, the muskets, the rifle of the times, the swords and everything, plus the greed of somebody else's land. Yung Islam naman was already thriving here in Mindanao. As a matter of fact, Islam was 100% dito sa Mindanao. Because Mindanao was really part, you go to the archives of Malaysia and itong sa Indonesia. There's a part there about the Philippines and how the missionaries came here. Mindanao was already Islam 100%. But because they saw Mindanao as a promising land even before, simply because what promised was really, there was no typhoon. It was below the typhoon belt until now. There's not much change in the current pattern of the weather. Kaya lang, mas marami na ang, because of the warm, umiinit na. Because of the pollution that we have put up in the air. Pero ang Mindanao remains to be a viable agricultural land. Na kung mawala yung NPA at mawala yung revolusyon ng MI pati MN, we would be all right except there is a sector here which cannot be talked into about peace. And those are the scholars of the, ang tawag nila is the Muslim revolution. It's actually the Muslim nationalism. the Moro nationalism. That's what it existed. Kasi kinonquer sila, tapos they suffered most because they resisted the Spaniards. For one reason, the issue was really religion. Ayaw nila. Ayaw nila yung Spaniard pumunta dito, mayroon ng mga relihiyon, pati yung mga canon. So they were blanjon. Wala naman tayong mga lolo natin, wala naman mga kanyon yun, pati mga gunpowder. So that was the first time that they experienced explosions and everything. So it was a bloody one. But in other parts, separated by islands, so there was no one strong man. There was no common post. They were conquered easily. But ang Mindanao, may poste. Kaya hindi mo makuha. Bakit? There was a post. And what is that? Islam. Yan. So they see us, my government, and since si Alonto nandito naman sa atin, they see us as a continuing presence of the Spaniards, the Americans, and tayo yung extension. We wage war against them because we are being used by the Americans. In other words, there can never be forgiveness. And yung pinakita ko yung massacre dyan sa Budaho, yung sa Hulo, and in those were really, wala tayong kamera noon. So we could not have secured, portrayed those cameras and equipments because we never had the cameras at that time. It was the Americans who had it. And we got the picture from the archives of America. And nobody is supposed to tinker with the history, so no one gets something out of that archives. So nagpaiwan, so doon nakita. The postcard, even there, was an American soldier, ang paa niya sa taas ng dibdib ng babae na hubad na kagano ng repo. It was a postcard. It was used as a postcard. Ganon katindi. So that is why itong mga scholar, sinabi ni Tatad, ni Lozano, ni mga bright dyan sa ANC, ako raw. It was not me. Hindi galing akin yun. Galing sa mga eskola ang kinausap ko, pati yung mga bata. Yung mga bata nila, yung mga bright na hindi kong gamit ng baril yan. Just like the bright ones dito sa ating mga taga-UP, ito yung hindi nagdadala ng baril, but they keep on repeating the history of what is. What is the truth and how it happened. So mabuti maprangkahan ko kayo kung ano. I'm saying this because we are all interested in expansion. If you are into the banana and you only plant banana 20 hectares for 10 years, ay huminto ka na dyan. Malulugi ka na niya kung ganun. In banana and plantations and everywhere business, you have to expand. If you do not expand, babagsak ka. That goes for the malls and everything. That's why there's mall wherever you are. Because if they stop building malls, stop doing business, ganyan ka lang, stagnant ka, you have to consider inflation, you have to consider the supply of money, the cost of money and everything. So ganon yan. So we have to expand, but we have to have peace. Ang mahirap lang itong mga scholars pati bata. Sila yung nagpakita sa akin, this is what happened to us. Sabi ko, using before they actually uttered it in itong mga Tatad, sila Lozano, sabi nila na, sabi mo kay Duterte, it's in the past. Hindi akin yun. I tried to reach them before my oath-taking. I requested my daughter-in-law, yung asawa ni Pulong, who was a Tausug mother, Tausug father and a Maranao mother. And so is my Lola. I talked to them. I had him brought here dito. Of course, Subrosa. Matagal kami nag-usap sa bahay. Almost 2 days sabi ko dito na magtira. How we can figure out a way out here. Ayan sabi na. This is not 1 century ago. This is not 100 years ago. This is now. It still is. Leksyon lang sa mga yan. Kala nila mas marunong sila sa atin dito sa Mindanao. It was not my statement. It was not my original statement. Those statements came from the Moro scholars and the young men. Marami dyan ngayon sa Lanao, Cotabato area. And ang ano nila is the Maote. But overall, tingnan ninyo, it's actually in the Middle East, they have stopped to call them Dax or ISIS. They're simply militants. Dito sa Pilipinas, they sprout out everywhere, and they are the militants of the Moro nationalism. Yun. Kaya kanila ito noon. Is their land. Ang mga Kristiyanos dumating, walang original na Kristiyano na taga Mindanao. That's for one thing I'm very sure of. If you are a Christian, my father was a Christian. He came here, married a Mindanao woman. Ang nagpunta, we are the descendants of the Christian early settlers who came here. Na hindi pa mas init noon, kasi bakit mag-init sila? Alaman nila magkapatid tayo. We all look the same. You could be Tausug there, you could be Maranao. Alam mo, hindi masyado mainit. But when the time came when there was an awakening and they were losing the lands on the Christians, yun, pumutok na. And the earliest was, of course, Kamlon. Then you have the 73 campaign, the black shirts. Sila panahon ni toothpick. Then now. So it's either we succeed in the talks or we don't move at all. Dito sa limitado ang atin. There can never be full use of the land until we will have the peace that we all desire. So that is how it is, ang Mindanao. We can only talk, and if we are able to convince the communists, they would require huge amount of resources. They will not go into a surrendering mode by just simply dropping the guns. They would ask for concessions. Concessions would be land, which is very good. I agree with them. I can open up the entire Republic of the Philippines, all public lands, ibigay ko. Total, hindi mo nagagamit, especially for food. I'd be happy with that. At itong pera, well, another billions of pesos. So with the MNMI, they would relish a return of a fraction of what they own. So, teritoryo yan, it's territorial, pas ang naging a huge expenditure to develop. Kasi they have lost that initiative for all of these years they've been fighting. Yung ano nila sa lupa. I hope they would listen to us and itong mga scholars na lang pati itong mga hardliners. Ito talagang, and yung sabi ko that there should be a time when the Americans leave the Mindanao. So please kindly review your tapes, lalo itong mga ano ng Amerikano. Never said leave the Philippines. Kasi sabi nila, we are not willing to negotiate with you. We will talk with you, but never negotiate unless we see the American special forces in the military camps all around Mindanao. And it is true that they are here. There are about 17 special forces all around Mindanao. Yan. So, having said that, we are open to all issues that you might want to government to intervene. The total hectareage would have been 450,000 hectares, which is huge. The total investment is 150 billion. So the total employment is 515 jobs as of 2015. The annual wages is 46.4 billion. Total tax contribution is 6 billion. Total revenue 2014 is 1.2 billion. And there was a kumunti lang because of the drought, we only got about 460 million. High tariff of Philippine exports to Korea and Japan. I'm going to, right after China, I'm going to Japan. These are the things na nakalista sa akin by the cabinet members as topics of interest. The maximum residual level issue in Korea is drastic reduction, peace and order, and the pest and disease. You just tell me. Manny is a farm boy. Manny Piñol is a farm boy. He would know what to do. We only need really to conserve resources. But if there is no graft and corruption anymore, matutulungan ko kayong lahat. Now, the SW survey gave me something like 0.74. I don't need that. Actually, ganun ako. If you know me at all, sabi ng inquirer, how do you rate? Sabi ko, 6. Alam mo bakit? Diyan lang ako naglalaro eh. Ever since kindergarten. 75, 76. Huwag lang bumagsak. 5 is nakatabla ka na eh. So, give a little bit of the sweat that you have. Totoo. It is not a self-derogating thing. But I've only, kayong nakakilala sa how do you rate yourself? Sometimes I cannot rate myself because there will be, ako mismo eh. So maghanap ka ng ibang tao. But since I was asked, about 6. Yung pala 74 ang binigay. Ramos was 76 during his heydays. Ako, okay na ako. Baski 65. Basta lumusot lang ako sa 5 kasi tabla. So, the proposed measure is the creation of a banana industry development council. Now, it should be a law. Cannot be executive order. So, because if you need something, money or otherwise, if you need government to intervene, the legal standing has to be something like there is a law, the force of law. And the creation of the Banana Research Institute. Yes, I think because may mga sakit na ang the proposed passage of the Philippine Comprehensive Banana Act of 2017. If it's in Congress, isali mo na lang ito lahat. All mix them up, tapos kanya-kanya na lang rules and implementation of rules and regulations. By implementation na lang. But the meat of the law should be there in a congressional action para to remove any doubt in the future. Especially if you want to pour money or propose, then you would need Congress. And if it's just an executive body, mahihirapan tayo. It has to be a creation of the Congress of the Republic of the Philippines. Okay ako dito sa lahat. Now, I would like to go back to doon sa corruption man. Kasi, ang sabi, there is still corruption. Sinabi ko sa kanila cabinet members. Because I had that sad experience with NEDA before. Diba, I applied for a simple railway system in Davao. Would you believe it, to the dying days of the administration, was still far from the level of table na dapat nandoon na. And so I cannot understand why. And so I'd like to know where the corruption is still prevalent, because I'd like to know. If you do not help me, I cannot erase corruption. I just cannot go to an office and start asking anybody if it's a where's the SOB here, or you have to tell me. Now there is a Malacanang TV, PTV4. So may program ako dyan. I'll give about every morning 1 hour. Lahat ng Pilipino nakatikim ng whether it's in the permit sa office of the mayor or an electrical clearance or a way of right already paid but unimplemented, it text mo na lang. You name the government official, do not add your name. Sabihin lang ninyo, may corruption dyan sa City Hall, yung business. Kasi ang business permit, panahon ko, 3 days. Sa kanila ngayon, 1 month. Kung magbigay ka, wala na talaga akong magawa. But if there's any sense at all, tulungan ninyo ako. Now, I said, for each department, they're only given 1 month. Lahat sila. So pagdating doon, it should, you have the stub, kailan lang tinanggap. And I told each department to give the guy, lalo na labor, give him a shopping list what to produce. Total yung nandyan lang sa likod yung mga NBI, BIR, nandyan na may kiosk. So, isabihin lang, I'd like to address myself to the nation. Ilagay lang ninyo doon. At 1 o'clock yung transited business, tapos sabit mo na lahat, yung kailangan nila, and yet they're asking for more. Ang sabi ko sa mga taga-gobernohan, and I will see to it that you are dismissed. I do not give a shit if you are a director or any general. Sabihin mo, give him a shopping list. Do not add or take anything from it once it is released to him. Then go to your computers. Malaki ang gasto ko sa computer. Yan. Lagay mo doon, kailan siya pwedeng bumalik for the papers. If it is really for rejection, clearly state why. And I'd like to read. So kayong mga Pilipino, i-text lang ninyo, tapos sabihin mo, ito ang hiningi, ito na naman ang bagong hiningi nila. Then that is corruption. Pahirapan yan. If you're made to go back and forth, mag-text lang kayo. No more names para hindi kayo matakot. Ako na ang bahala. Pag hindi niya ako tulungan, wala talaga ako magawa para sa inyo. If you do not help me, ferret out the bad guys, huwag kayong mag-complain ng corruption. Ito may buksan ako in new avenue. Ito yon. Now, remember, na huwag kayong mag-ano ng kapwa niyo tao. Baka galit ka lang, ilagay mo lang dyan si Rodrigo Duterte, yung supervising clerk ng ano, tapos just too bad. Because then I will have to ask your name. Pag niluko mo ako, hindi ko na alam kung ano ginagawa ko pag niluko ako. Pag niluko mo ako, hanggang dyan na lang tayo. Huwag ka magkamali. Huwag mo rin, ibig sabihin, do not, huwag mo akong gawin gago. Ayaw ko yung ganun eh. So, yan na lang. Because they said that, doing all right, so far so good, but there is still corruption. Saan? Sa Maynila, Quezon City, Davao City, Cebu, local government, hindi na bali. Ilagay mo lang dyan. Ito si Mr. Eusebio Morales, yung pinaglalaroan ako, pinagbabalik ako. So it is flash every day all throughout the country. Tapos tawagin ko siya. Sabihin ko anong nagawa niyang pagkamali. I will call him to Malacanang. I'll pay for his plane fare. pumunta ka dito, humarap ka sa akin. Ayaw ko yung niluluko mo. Ayaw kong lukuhin mo ako. Kasi ako dating manluluko. Kaya nga araw-araw nasa altar ako nakadupa kasi niluluko ko yung nanay ko. Nakaluhod ako palagi sa munggo pati. So ganon. All that I ask is really your cooperation, nothing else. All you have to do is just to name the idiot. You do not have to sulat mo lang. Ngayon by text. Ito ngayon, I'll open number sa Malacan. Mag-contribute si Pangilinan pati si Ayala ng numero. Total, they are pamira. Maraming pera sila dito sa ano. Wala kayong kompetensya. Mag-text ako, maghitay ako ng reply. Matulog na muna ako, kinabukasan ko pa babasa. Tinitiis ko lang yan. No, if you do not do it right, you wait, I'm going to China. I'll open up everything for competition. Buksan ko na lang lahat. Pati yung lahat ng mga babae, lahat na mga kaganda sa buong mundo, walang visa, pasok kayo dito. Putang ina yan. At least mag-init ulo mo, may makita kang babae, maglamig ka. Ano ang pangalan mo? Ganon. So I am pleading to the people. I promised you no corruption. If I cannot get your help, if you're the ones also surrendering to the idiots, that's not my problem anymore. Then you serve the country na ganito. I promised you drugs war. So, they're being killed. And the Americans, the EU, and itong human rights, kung magsalita, if they reprimand you, it is as if ako yung boy nila. I am not your servant. Do not do it to me. When I was mayor, you can criticize me. Nagiging side issue na yan sa Republic of the Philippines. I teach you the finer points of government. But when you are talking to me, Mr. Obama, human rights, pati EU, kung hindi kayo loko-loko, I am the President of the Republic of the Philippines. I am not extraordinarily proud of that title. I refuse even to be called Your Excellency kasi nakakatindig ng bahil mo. Just can't address me. To all my friends, I ask them not to call me President. Tanungin mo yung cabinet. You address me as mayor because yun na yung palayaw ko all these years for being the mayor here for 23 years. I'm comfortable with mayor. I am not at ease with President. I'd like just to tell you that I am not inordinately proud just because I am president, that you cannot criticize me. But do it in such a way that you learned people taught the third countries. That when I am president, there is already the UN body, and we are a member, and I am the president. So, Mr. Obama, if you want, you can ask your ambassador to the UN to make the complaint. Then, for that body, it's a collegial body. If it's an issue of security, then the Security Council would refer it to one of its organs, and that is the Human Rights Commission. Ask them to investigate and make a report, and that is the time that you call my attention. Get it? Now, EU, you are too far away for me to worry. We have been threatening to cut aids and everything. Who do you think you are? Without your aid, fine, we will survive. But do not threaten me that there will be cuts in aid. Son of a gun. What do you think of us beggars? You cannot even handle the refugee crisis. There was a time when you let all the Muslims in, but there is a time now that you have closed your corridors and it's winter time and they are out, suffering cold and sickness and all. Do not talk about human rights. You were the nations. Spain conquered Philippines. The Dutch, you conquered Indonesia. British, you conquered Malaysia. Then you occupied, that was the 55 days at Peking. Because there was the store who had a franchise of selling opium in China that you can never really expect a Chinese goodwill. You are the ones who are the exclusive franchise to sell opium to the Chinese people. America, Balangigay in summer. You stole the belfry, yung bell namin. It's now in your hands. And there was a time that 10 years old above, you massacred all of them. So do not teach me about human rights. I'm trying to save a country. 4 million drug addicts is no joke. We are not a rich country, we do not. It is only China who has helped us. I requested the military to open their camps to allow people who would want to donate rehab houses. China is about to complete Sobrosa. Walang hambog, walang news, no, neither any publicity. It's about to be completed. It would house 1,400 drug addicts in Fort Magsaysay. Doon, matatapos na. You, instead of helping us, you know very well that I entered the presidency midterm. And I was operating now on a budget that is not mine. This is Aquino's budget. Next year pa yung akin. Because, I enter midterm, June. But a budget is prepared for the whole year. Who'd ever thought? I know that it was a problem. Of course, in Davao, there were extrajudicial victims. I would not deny that. But it is not a policy. It only becomes an extrajudicial issue if it is the policy of a state to kill criminals. That was not. Otherwise, I would not have. I lose 2 policemen every day all over the country, on the average, because they fight back. That's what is it. Why are you? Because that garbage started in Davao. It was a political issue. Everyone who died here, na walang suspect, automatically would term it salvage victim. So it was carried on to a national concern. Remember, United States, Mr. Obama, it was never an issue against me during the entire election. And you can ask anybody, even your embassy personnel, and your intelligence here and everywhere. It was not an issue against me. It only became an issue when I was hitting the ratings of 32. And it stayed there. Then Trillanes and the barking dogs started late and even invented bank accounts. You are all connected with the banks, the rich guys here. You can ask the bank. They are not also willing to come up with the open statement, so you can ask them. Tingnan ninyo. If there are billions there, I will resign. You just ask the manager, computer lang yan. And you would know kung magkano. Then, Ask the managers just to compute. Between you and the manager, you open the computer. Yan, dinala yan ng issue when I was already up in the ratings. So it was carried by the left and until now, yun. Sabi nila mga oligarchs, I don't give a shit. Sabi nila na itong isang columnista dito is based outside of the Philippines. He keeps on warning me about getting ousted by people power. Tell you what. I'll tell you the secret of life. Me, all of my expectations in my youth, in the days of my youth, ang expectation ko baliktad. I never wanted to be mayor. I just wanted to be judge. I told the late Mr. Ayala, sabi, I can pinch hit for somebody, for my mother, because my mother refused to be vice mayor. Yung anak na lang. So they got me from City Hall. Yung building, which is owned by the city, but national employees kami. Then I became mayor. I never wanted to be one. Why? Because my father was governor of this place one time. I never liked his life. Kaya pati ang pamilya ko sumabog. I never wanted to be congressman. But I became one. I only wanted to be the top prosecutor because that is the love of my life. Prosecuting people in court. I never wanted to be president. I was not there to file my certificate until the last. Then, as a substitute, because I was pounded on by several people. President Ramos was one of them. Came back and forth and Davao to the point just chastising me for refusing to serve my country. All of these things. Now I'm president, I tell you. Please listen very carefully. Lahat kayong mga media dyan. I don't give a damn of what happens to me. I'll tell you, I am staking my life, my honor, and the presidency itself. If that is my destiny, ousted, killed, but I think honor, I shall have it. There will never be a situation that you'd catch me stealing even a peso of your money. But there will be more deaths. I promise the Philippines to end the drug problem because it will. If I do not do it, then the next generation of Filipinos will be compromised. Your children who are now in grade school, yung sa college, wala na. Maybe. And 6 million is no joke. They're scattered all over the Philippines. But what is the most important, Mr. Obama, EU, and human rights is this. In the tradition of the South American states which failed, my country now is a narco-politics thing. God damn it, you better listen. There are about 5,000 barangay captains and about 3,000 police officers into drugs. The portals of the national government has been opened to narco-politics by the election of the Lima. Until now, she plays coy. She doesn't want to admit her immorality. When as a matter of fact, Diane and her craze for sex made it possible for her to be corrupt. Ayaw niya, she never denied about snippets of truth. Snippets of truth. Yun ang dahilan bakit pumasok ang narco-politics. Because of her excessive sexual desire. She had to compromise. She compromised. Hindi lang naman si Diane eh. You must have heard Sebastian. The one that the guy who stayed in the Cobol for 4 hours. Ibig sabihin, magpagmasahe ka lang, walang mangyari. Oh. Kung ako ang prison na hindi nakakatikim ng babaeng basta yung walang ngipin, dayban, lukuhin ito, she always throwing it, the drug problem that I'm willing to be shot. Okay naman, I'm telling you, this is what happened. If you kindly remember, I was summoned by the Senate. Remember, I was summoned by the Senate to testify on rice smuggling. You remember that? Well, okay, I testified there. And I said that this was the one. Because nobody was willing. Galing dito hanggang Maynila, nobody, no idiot in this government nakilala si Bangayan. So I went to the intelligence community. Sa Aguinaldo, sabi ko, wag ninyo akong bulayin. Bigyan ninyo ako ng the face off. Because I'm supposed to. Sabi niyo, wala, Mayor, wag ni putang ina, wag ninyo akong lukuhin. Wag tayo maglukuhan dito. So the next day, it was delivered to the hotel, doon sa desk. So I testified. Sabi ko, gano'n. Sabi ni Enrile, if you find Bangayan in your city, what will you do with him? Go for stealing 7 billion of the people's taxes money. I'll shoot him dead. Then ito si Jenggoy, ever the smart alert, sabi niya, nakikinig kayo. Ano? He was trying to play with his eyes. Ano? Sabi ko, buti lagi, napriso ka tuloy. Ano gawin mo? Sabi ko, Senator, I'll give you the statement that you'd like to hear. Patayin ko yan. So after that, si Dilima taking offense. Right after, may maraming ganun. Pati si Dilima na tulilik pag nakita ito. Ano kayang tingin niya nito? Well, of course, already it brought. Pero pag kinakarga pa yan, gano'n yan eh. Double barreled. One after the other. Sabi niya, Duterte threatened and it's not good. And she'd sue me. She was there. So I prepared a statement before, you remember, but I was kept on looking at her. Nakadungo lang siya. Sabi niya, I should be sued. So, ay, Dilima, akala ko ba abogado ka? The only body who can question me, and the only persons who can maybe put me to task, would be the senators and the Senate itself, as a collegial body. Nobody but nobody outside of that Senate can question me. Ang mga senador lang ang pasin. Sabi ko, do not waste your time on me. Remember what? May problema ka kasi sa munting lupa, nagluluto na sila ng Cebu. But she was so arrogant with her power and she thought that yan ang mahirap eh. It will last forever. Lahat kayo, if there is one thing in life that I'd like to keep you in mind, remember this, miscalculation. Very important. In whatever. Awayin mo asawa mo, you carried it too far and you calculate everything. Bantayan mo yung word, miscalculation. Wala maraming nakaanam. Ako, at my age at 71, nakuha ko na. A little bit of wisdom. Not really a big one. But lahat ng diskarte ko pumalpak because of miscalculation. Even sa negosyo. Do not be careful with that word. Lima miscalculated everything. She thought that it never come out, openly creating something like this, even carrying an affair in the full view, paggawa ng bahay sa boyfriend niya. Saan kumuha ang pera yung boyfriend niya? Look at, I am not trying to, look at the sartorial elegance of the earlier photos of the, saka yung mga burluloy. When the days of the human rights, tignan mo yung damit niya. Tignan mo yung mga alahas niya. Make a comparison. It shows. Hindi ba pigilan niya? Lahat ng bumagsak itong corruption, magandang bahay, magandang kotse, may miscalculate eh. Para bang hindi ito malaman ng tao. I-miscalculate even your neighbors. Makakita sila, may Mercedes ba dyan, may magandang kotse na. It is always miscalculation. Bantay kayo dyan. Sa girls, ganon rin. Ma-miscalculate mo, akala mo mabait kasi kung niligawan mo pasos, akala mo. So there will never a time I would have to quarrel with this woman, lady. She is very good, gentle and everything. Pagdating ng panahon, dinosaur pala ang ugali. O dinosaur if you want to call it. Pagka nigawa mo, ay sus, ang bait. Parang mahinhin. Hawakan mo pa ng kamay. Huwag, uy. Ngayon, mag-away kayo, hawakan mo. Sampalin kita dyan ngayon. Ay, nako. So, let's miscalculation. And so, I end my story to you this afternoon. There are so many problems. It's a global thing, competition. But I hope to report to you good news when I shall have visited Japan and China. I'm quite positive sa China, okay na. We will have the Filipinos returning to the traditional fishing grounds. I think they will ease up with the quality control with the banana and so many other things. Sabi nila, we'd help you with this and help you that. What really outstanded me was how they just went to the, I ordered the Defense Secretary to open up the military camps. Sila lang yung may spaces. And they are now starting to build. The 1,500 dormitory is about to be finished. And they are promising for more. Hindi ko naman sinasabi sa mga Amerika na, I do not expect you to do that also. Sunod-sunuran, but ganon man. We sacrifice for you. You stayed here. You're still doing business here. Nilulok na ko na lang yan. And we suffered during the last Second World War II election because you were here. Had you not been here, we would not have experienced so much destruction in my country. The Battle of Manila, 200,000 Filipinos died because you were there. So these are the things that do not forget. Do not say it's 45 years ago, 60 years ago. In the relation between race, tribes, the past is as valid as the present. Assess yourselves, because if you don't, you will lose the Philippines. And I assure you, they say that it's not for EDCA. The war games is not a part of EDCA, mind you. If you don't look at it again, ask your lawyers, because I have read it. The war games is not there in flat word which says that you can have it. This year would be the last. This year would be the last. You want to ask me? Free? Yeah. You want to use the CIA? Go ahead. I said I put at stake my honor, my life, and the presidency. What happens to me is really a part of my destiny. If I'm ousted, then that is part of my presidency. But for as long as I am there, do not treat us like a doormat, because you'll be sorry for it. I will not stick with you. I can always go to China, invite them. I have met Medvedev during the summit. It was a top secret thing. I'm revealing it to you. He said, send your businessmen here, and we would see if we can buy the things that you have. And for the foreign prime minister now, I'm opening up the Philippines. I do not want to antagonize you, but I said, try to give us a little of respect. You do not go around reprimanding a head of state as if you were talking. Salamat po.